I never thought a single moment could change everything. It was just another evening, the house quiet except for the faint hum of the TV in the living room. My husband had left for a business trip that morning, and I finally had a little time to myself. After a long day, I stepped into my bedroom, closing the door behind me, ready to change into something more comfortable. I had no idea someone was about to walk in. As I pulled my dress over my head, I suddenly felt a shift in the air, an unsettling presence behind me. My heart skipped a beat. Before I could react, the door creaked open, and there he was, my stepson, standing frozen in the doorway. His eyes widened in shock, mirroring my own. The silence between us stretched, thick with tension, as if time itself had paused. I quickly grabbed the nearest piece of clothing, my face burning with embarrassment. "What are you doing?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. He stammered, his face turning red, looking anywhere but at me. I thought you weren't home," he mumbled. His hands fidgeted nervously by his sides, guilt written all over his face. A strange energy filled the room, something unspoken yet undeniable. My mind raced with questions. Was it an accident? Or was there more to this? My heart pounded as I struggled to make sense of the situation. Whatever had just happened, one thing was certain. This moment had changed everything. But what happened next was something I never saw coming. I turned away, gripping the fabric in my hands, my mind racing. My stepson still stood there, his face a mixture of shock and discomfort, as if he himself didn't know what to do next. I expected him to say something, to apologize, to leave, but he didn't. He just stood there, frozen in place. A heavy silence filled the room, making every second feel like an eternity. Finally, I took a deep breath, forcing myself to break the moment. "You need to knock before coming in," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. His eyes darted to the floor, and he nodded quickly. I didn't know you were in here," he muttered. His voice was barely above a whisper, but there was something in his tone, something uncertain. I turned back to face him, now fully covered, but my heart still pounded in my chest. His expression was hard to read. Was it guilt? Embarrassment? Or something else? I wanted to believe it was just an innocent mistake, but the way he hesitated, the way his eyes flickered toward me and then away, made me question everything. Trying to shake the uneasy feeling, I walked past him, reaching for the door. "Just be careful next time," I said, hoping to put an end to the awkwardness. He nodded again, stepping back as I pulled the door open wider. For a brief moment, our eyes met again, and something unspoken lingered in the air. Then, just like that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, still trying to process what had just happened. I closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling slowly. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe it was nothing. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment wasn't just some harmless accident. Something about the way he looked at me, the hesitation in his movements. It all felt off. That night, as I lay in bed, my mind refused to rest. Memories of the past few months flooded back, little things I had brushed off before. The way he sometimes looked at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. The way he found reasons to linger when we were alone. The casual touches that, at the time, seemed innocent. Had I been blind to something that was there all along? Or was I just letting my imagination run wild? As I stared at the ceiling, lost in thought, I had no idea that this was only the beginning. The next morning, I went about my usual routine, trying to shake off the strange feeling from the night before. Maybe I had misread everything. Maybe it really was just an accident. But as I moved through the house, I couldn't ignore how different things felt. How different he felt. My stepson barely spoke during breakfast, keeping his head down, his movements unusually tense. Normally, he was talkative, casual, but today, there was something restrained about him, like he was avoiding looking at me. I stole glances at him, trying to gauge his emotions, but his face gave nothing away. Was it guilt, or something else entirely? I wanted to bring it up, to clear the air, but what would I even say? The last thing I wanted was to make things more awkward. As the day went on, I found myself replaying that moment in my head, analyzing every little detail. His hesitation, the way his expression had shifted, there was something there, something I couldn't quite name. And the more I thought about it, the more uneasy I felt. Later that evening, I was folding laundry in the bedroom when I heard a soft knock on the door. My heart jumped, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Come in," I called, keeping my voice neutral. The door opened slowly, and my stepson stepped inside. He hesitated for a second before speaking. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry about yesterday," he said, his voice quiet. His eyes met mine for the briefest moment before darting away. I let out a small breath, relieved that he had brought it up. "It's okay," I said gently, folding a shirt and placing it on the bed. "Just be more careful next time." He nodded, but something about the way he lingered made me uneasy. He wasn't leaving. Instead, he stood there, shifting his weight from one foot to the other, as if he had more to say but wasn't sure how to say it. Then, out of nowhere, he blurted, "Do you ever feel like things in this house are different?" I frowned, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, his fingers gripping the edge of the door. "Like, I don't know. Like things aren't how they used to be." A strange chill ran down my spine. Was he talking about us? About what happened last night? Or was there something else I wasn't seeing? Before I could respond, he gave me a small, unreadable smile. "Never mind," he muttered, turning away. "Forget I said anything." And just like that, he was gone, leaving me with more questions than before. The days that followed felt strange, as if something unspoken had settled between us, lingering in the air. My stepson acted normal around others, laughing, talking, and going about his usual routine. But when it was just the two of us, there was a tension that neither of us acknowledged. It was subtle, longer than usual glances, hesitation before speaking, the way his presence suddenly felt heavier in a room. Maybe it was all in my head, but deep down, I knew something had shifted. One evening, after my husband called to say he'd be staying out of town for another week, I found myself feeling restless. The house felt quieter than usual, too quiet. I curled up on the couch with a book, trying to distract myself, but my mind kept drifting. Every sound in the house made me more aware that I wasn't alone. Then, just as I was starting to relax, I heard a noise, a soft creak from upstairs. I froze, my heartbeat quickening. It could have been anything, just the house settling, but something about it felt off. I set my book down, listening closely. Another sound. Footsteps, slow, hesitant. My breath caught in my throat. I stood up, moving carefully toward the staircase. "Hello?" My voice echoed slightly, but no one responded. I climbed the stairs, my hands cold with unease. As I reached the top, I saw movement near my bedroom door. My stepson. He was standing there, his back partially turned to me, his hand on the doorknob. A strange wave of emotions rushed through me. Confusion, curiosity, and something I couldn't quite name. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice softer than I intended. He turned around quickly, clearly startled. "Oh, He rubbed the back of his neck, searching for words. "I thought I heard something inside. Just checking." His voice was casual, but his expression wasn't. I studied him for a moment, trying to understand what was going through his mind. "There's nothing in there," I said slowly. He nodded, but he didn't move right away. Instead, his eyes held mine for a little too long, a silent conversation happening between us that neither of us spoke aloud. Then, finally, he exhaled and took a step back. "Sorry. Guess I was just being paranoid." He gave a small smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. I should have let it go. I should have walked away. But something about the situation gnawed at me. Instead of returning downstairs, I opened my bedroom door and stepped inside. The room was exactly as I had left it, nothing out of place, nothing unusual. And yet, the air felt different, like someone had been there. I turned back toward the door, but he was already gone. I let out a slow breath, my heart still racing. Something was happening, something I didn't understand yet. But whatever it was, I had a feeling it was only the beginning of something much bigger. That night, sleep didn't come easily. I tossed and turned, my mind replaying everything, his hesitation at the door, the look in his eyes, the way the air in my room had felt off. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it, that there was no reason to feel so unsettled, and yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. At some point, exhaustion took over, and I drifted into a restless sleep. But then, in the middle of the night, a faint noise pulled me awake. My eyes fluttered open, my heart pounding before I even understood why. The house was dark and silent, but something felt wrong. I held my breath, listening, and then I heard it again. A soft shuffle, like someone moving just outside my door. My throat went dry. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, my fingers shaking slightly. The clock read 2:47 a.m. I swallowed hard, trying to convince myself that it was nothing. Maybe he had gotten up for water. Maybe it was just the house settling. But a part of me knew this wasn't my imagination. Slowly, I sat up, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it would give me away. I forced myself to stay still, listening for any other sounds. Seconds passed. Nothing. Just when I was starting to think I had imagined it, the floor creaked. This time, closer, right outside my door. I sucked in a sharp breath. My mind raced. Should I call out? Should I get up and check? But before I could decide, the doorknob moved. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but I saw it, just the slightest shift, like someone was testing if it was locked. A cold chill ran down my spine. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Every instinct screamed at me to do something, but I just sat there, frozen. And then, just as quickly as it had started, the movement stopped. The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. I waited, my entire body tense, but the door never opened. And after what felt like forever, I heard the softest retreating footsteps. I didn't sleep after that. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in bed, every nerve in my body on edge, waiting for something, anything, to happen. But the house stayed silent. No more footsteps, no more movement outside my door. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. As the first light of morning crept through the curtains, I finally forced myself to move. I got up, my legs feeling unsteady, and slowly opened the door. The hallway was empty, just like it always was. But something caught my eye, a small piece of paper on the floor near my bedroom. My stomach twisted as I bent down to pick it up. The note was hastily written, the handwriting almost shaky. I need to talk. Please don't be scared. My breath hitched. I knew who it was from before I even had to think. A part of me wanted to ignore it, pretend none of this was happening. But another part, the part that had felt this tension building for weeks, knew I had to face it. That evening, I found my stepson sitting on the back porch, staring out at the yard. He didn't look up when I stepped outside, but he knew I was there. I held up the note. "What's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice calm even though my heart was racing. He let out a slow breath, his shoulders slumping. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said, finally looking at me. His eyes were filled with something I hadn't seen before, fear. I don't know how to say this." I waited, my pulse pounding in my ears. Then finally he spoke. "I think someone else is in this house." The words sent a shiver through me. "What are you talking about?" He swallowed hard, glancing toward the house. "I've been hearing things, seeing shadows moving when no one's supposed to be there. Last night I thought I saw someone standing outside your door." He looked down, his hands clenched. "But when I got closer, they were just gone." A chill ran through me. I had been so focused on my own fears, my own suspicions, that I never even considered that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't about him at all. And then, in that moment, something inside the house shifted. A faint sound, a door closing. We weren't alone. A cold wave of fear ran through me. My stepson's eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time in weeks, we were on the same side of whatever was happening. Neither of us spoke as we listened, our breath caught in our throats. The sound had been soft, too soft to be the usual creaks of the old house settling. It was deliberate. I turned slowly toward the door, my mind racing. Every logical part of me wanted to dismiss it, to convince myself that exhaustion was making me hear things. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. He had heard it too. Summoning every ounce of courage, I stepped inside, my stepson right behind me. The house was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that felt unnatural. My pulse pounded in my ears as I moved toward the hallway, every shadow feeling like it was watching me. Then, just as I passed the stairs, I saw it, something barely visible in the dim light, a closet door, slightly ajar. I stopped, my breath catching. I hadn't left it open. I was sure of that. My stepson stiffened beside me, his expression mirroring my own dread. Slowly, I reached out and pushed the door wider. Nothing, just darkness. But then, at the very bottom, something small and unfamiliar caught my eye, a crumpled piece of fabric. I bent down, hesitating before picking it up. It was a hoodie, one I didn't recognize. It was old, worn, and didn't belong to anyone in the house. My stomach twisted. My stepson stepped closer. "That's not mine," he whispered, his voice barely audible. I didn't know what to say. A sick feeling settled in my chest as the realization hit me. Someone had been here. Someone had been watching. And whoever they were, they had been close. Too close. I forced a shaky breath and stood up. "We need to call someone." That night, the police came. They searched the house, checked the locks, and asked questions neither of us had answers to. There were no clear signs of forced entry, nothing obviously out of place except for the hoodie. In the end, all they could do was take a report and tell us to stay alert. After they left, I sat in the living room, staring at the door, wondering how long they had been here. My stepson sat across from me, silent, lost in thought. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't afraid of him. I was afraid of what we didn't know. The next day, I changed the locks. We tried to move on, to put it behind us. But every now and then, late at night, when the house was too quiet, I still found myself listening, waiting. Because deep down, I knew whoever had been here could always come back.